This is the Amy Edwards Show, and I'm your host, Amy. This show is here to help all of us live our best life and feel amazing at absolutely every age. We focus on transformation and empowerment through practical tools, strategies, habits, and mindset shifts that will help you unlock your potential, build self-love, and embrace your unique journey. We'll cover everything from health and wellness to personal growth and spirituality with inspiring guests and real conversations. So if you are ready to level up, break out of your comfort zone, and make lasting changes, you're in the right place. It's never too late. In fact, some of your best days haven't even happened yet. Let's get to it. Love this moment and make the next one even shinier. Welcome back to the Amy Edwards Show. I'm your host, Amy Edwards, and today we're diving into a conversation absolutely packed with inspiration and authenticity and empowerment with none other than one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, Loren Lahav. Loren is a powerhouse, an author, speaker, coach. She has dedicated her life to helping people uncover their true selves, and not only their worth, but in every facet of their lives. Her new book is out now. It's called Stay True. It's a heartfelt guide to embracing authenticity in a world that can pull us in so many different directions. And if that's not enough, she's also gearing up for her transformative event, Own It, 2025 in Las Vegas, March 7th through 9th. It's going to be packed with incredible speakers and designed to help everyone step into more of their power and live more of the life that they deserve. So welcome, Loren. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. And you're going to be there at the event sharing about all the great things that you've got going on too. So super excited about that.
Oh, I'm honored. Honored to know you and honored to be a part of it and to call you a friend of the show now because this is your second time on. And so last time you were on, it was preemptive to the Own Your Worth event, which was what it was called last year. And now you've transformed it and grown it into Own It. And I thought maybe we'd address that really quick and how that spoke to you and how that came up for you and how you have felt that growth in your own life and wanted to put it out in a different way.
Thank you. Well, it's so funny, isn't it? Like how we are condition ourselves about certain things. And I'll share the kind of the backstory behind it. Was I was asked to do a program during that mandatory pause during COVID. I think that we were all kind of discovering like, who are we? What do we want? Where do we, how do we get to redesign our lives? And I was asked to do a program for about 5,000 people. And I was like, oh my God, I've never done this program before, right? And what had happened was they called me, my friend called me, she's like, hey, Tony really wants you to teach wealth mastery. I'm like, I've never taught wealth mastery. I've taught life mastery for all of these years. And so but I've never taught wealth mastery. She goes, you'll be fine. You'll do great. And I'm like, anyway, he didn't ask. I'm sure you guys just got together and just figured out that you'd have me do wealth mastery. She goes, no, Loren, he actually wants you to do it. Then I got a voice message saying, Loren, I want you to do wealth mastery. I'm like, oh my God, like he really does want me to do it. And I was watching all of these videos. I wish I had I'm on a different computer, otherwise I'd show you. I was on another computer and I was listening to a bunch of people's videos of them teaching content from that particular event. And so I'm like taking notes. I've got like a gazillion legal pads, right? Like taking notes and going through the workbooks. And I had a picture of myself, like this one of me, like when I did one of those beauty shots with like me with like really big hair. And it was like a picture of me like pointing at the camera like this. And I put it in front of me. And I did a little, as you know, I'm obsessed with sticky notes. And so on a sticky note, I wrote, own it. And so when I was doing, getting ready and prepping myself, I would look at myself, pointing at myself, and I'd look at the words, own it. And I didn't even realize how much I was conditioning myself to own it. And I think what was happening for so many of us, like I said, during that mandatory pause, is we're trying to figure like who, we go through those different stages, like who we are, staying true to who we are, rediscovering who we are. And I felt that so many of us were in that rediscovery stage. And I think I was in that rediscovery stage, and why I decided to call it Own Your Worth. And I think just through this past year, just seeing so many of the people we know really step up and say, I'm ready to own it. Like, I know who I am. And I think it's that when you get yourself around people that help you reaffirm, like, yeah, you got this. And it was just so evident for me that it was time to change the name to own it. Really, just through the transformations of people that I saw who were stepping up and owning it, not questioning their worth anymore.
Yeah, that's so interesting because my own growth and work followed that same trajectory. And I had thought, I noticed plenty of other people doing it too, but I like that you're relating it to just this collective experience. We really did have a lot of it together. And we really have grown past that into how can we own it in all different ways. So
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, it really speaks to me. It's almost like I'm living in my own reality because that's what I would choose. So yes, I love that. And part of that is owning every facet of your life. And I kind of want to talk about that today because you are a big proponent of paying attention to the facets of your life. And I wore this shirt special because the last tattoo I got was this diamond tattoo. And I've been thinking about it for a long time. And you use it in a lot of your work. And you have a planner out now, an annual planner that you put out. And in there, you have a picture of a diamond saying, it has 8 facets or 88 facets, I guess, and 8 sides. And so you have these 8 like facets of your life that you can pay attention to. And I it was so I'm so struck by that I have a reminder of it now on me that I can say, okay, this is my reminder to tap into all the facets of my life. And so I was hoping you could talk about owning all these facets of your life and how that looks for you, how you maintain balance in those. This is a big question, I know. But yesterday on our group call, because I'm in your mastermind group, True Legacy Collective, you talked about luxury. You just offhand mentioned luxury Loren days. And I was like, oh my God, she has a name for her days. And when I was looking at writing out those facets, it says, what do I call this or what do I name this? And I thought, what an awesome idea. So let's just dive into owning it and all these facets of your life and then as we progress, maybe how you maintain balance in those.
Thank you for sharing that. It's funny, like everybody, I think that, as being someone who's been in the personal development world for a long time, right? 35 years, a bit sure long.
We want to clarify. You were talking about Tony Robbins when you said Tony. We didn't address that you have been with Tony Robbins and worked closely with him and led so many things for like 35 years. So yes, I needed to.
But yeah, so like I think that inspired me. Jim Rohn talks about the checkup from the neck up, right? And so you go through the different categories of your life because we need to check in, right? Tony talks about the wheel of life, and one of my favorite people, Mary Mannon Morrissey, she's been a huge inspiration for me. If you've ever been to the Living Enrichment Center, she used to have in Portland, Oregon, and just a real total badass woman. But she worked with, like does a lot of work with what's his name, Michael Beckwith with Agape, and just an amazing woman. But I think I learned so much from them, and I was like, well, what is it for me? Because none of those things really resonated for me. But for me, I think especially as women, we dim our brilliance. And my eldest son, that Justin, I love that those two guys are buddies.
Mhm.
Joss is a gemologist. He became a gemologist. And I was like thinking about that more. And I've talked about the diamond for so long because it's the brilliance. And then when we don't look at all areas of our life, we wonder why things aren't working out so well. It's because we dim the brilliance. We don't check in enough to give it enough, I don't know, juice, I think, for our lives. So I have my category that you were talking about, that I named them different things. And once again, this is something I was inspired by, just giving it more juice, right? Like I always say to people, if I say the category of health, how many of you get excited? People raise their hand and I'm like, not me. So I've called myself for the past 22, 23 years, I call my category of health that I'm a fit, foxy, endurance vixen, right?
That's so good. That would be more exciting.
And so what happens though to me is when I'm going through different stages, I don't fall into like, oh, this has just happened. This is what happens after you have a baby, or oh, this is what happens when you go through menopause. I'm like, no, I'm a fit, foxy, endurance vixen, and I remember who I am because I think we can get so caught up in the noise. right? And then I remember calling myself a millionaire mama. And then I started meeting a lot of billionaires. I'm like, no, I'm a badass billionaire babe, right? And so I think it's checking in and then what are some of the values that I need to have for each one of those categories? What do I need to remember? Who are the resources that are available to me that to help bring out more of it in those different categories, and so yeah, so that's pretty much, and I've done this forever.
What are your categories? What can you name them off the top of your head?
Sure, let me. Oh, I can make that. So I am for my relationship, my intimate relationship. I'm his dream come true.
Oh, God.
And my
Yes.
for my financial one, as I said, I'm a badass brilliant, um,
Billionaire babe.
a billionaire babe. Yes, I'm a badass brilliant billionaire babe. I call myself I'm a magnificent mama. I'm a forever friend. So for my category of friends and family, I'm a fit, foxy, endurance vixen, as I shared. For my career, I call myself a brilliant Renaissance queen because for me, I want to help create this. I look at all of you and I'm just so inspired by all these awesome queens, but I want to create a renaissance, a whole revolution. And then I have my contribution one where I'm a giving guru. And then my emotional one, oh, I know this one. I'm the no drama mama. I call myself the no drama mama. And then for mine of skills and knowledge, I call myself a legendary learner. So that I go based on the different bagwas, as you know, with the manifestation boards I do. It's more like not about things, it's about how do I need to show up in the world. So for me, the one that's been really important to me recently is the legendary learner. I know you love to learn. I love when you talk about the things that you've learned or books that you've read. So I'm always writing them down. Like for me this year, I decided I'm really going to step up even more financial learning for myself, or I wanted to learn how to play pickleball. And instead of me just going and taking pickleball, I'm like, I'm going to take everybody and take the girls, right, to go do it together. So I kind of, that one keeps me excited and young. So like this year, last year I wanted to learn how to knit. Right. And I went with my friend. She's like, what do you want to do when you come to San Francisco? I go, I want to go and take a knitting class. She's like, what? I'm like, it'll be great. We'll go take a knitting class. As you know, contribution is a huge one. Just got done with another birthday party yesterday and our group's growing. We need to find another school because I think we had 25 people there yesterday. So I think it keeps me very I don't look. A lady was talking yesterday. She had been to the luncheon the day before, and she's like, "Well, I want to come to the birthday party." And she came the next day, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, it only was 2 hours out of my day." I know. I go, "I know, 2 hours every other month. That's all that it takes." So I think when we always say we do our priorities, and for me, in order if I want to keep the brilliance in my life, and I always talk about watch the feet, not the lips. I want people to be watching and going, she's doing it. She's living it. She's not making up excuses of why it can't be done. So I do believe you can have it all.
I do too. Don't apologize for that.
Yeah, right.
No,
So I
right.
believe you can have it all because you're going to do the things that are important. So
Yeah.
that's it.
How does staying true then and owning it go together for you? Which is
So a big thing I think that once again, it's, as you know, my question that I always say to myself is if I say yes to this, am I staying true to myself? That's my question. That's my barometer of whether or not I say yes to something. And my friend Jeff, I love what he says. He says, either you give it a strong yes or this is A actually said it with his head like this. So I kind of throw that in there. He goes, you either give it a strong yes or a strong no, but no wishy-washy dilly-dally stuff, in between. And owning it is like, I'm doing this. Another friend of mine, Eric, he says, say yes, tell the world, figure it out. I believe that's what owning it is. Just say yes. You'll figure it out, right? But you have to own that knowing that you've got it. And when you look at like, okay, what needs to happen? What really needs to happen? How do I need to show up and really for me to own it? And once again, going back to simple rituals, right? such as I am statements. I'm loving, I'm honest, I'm passionate, I'm compassionate, I'm kick ass, I'm full of faith, I'm God's girl, I'm 2 meter tight, I'm a sexy salsa dancer, I'm an awesome mom, I'm a kick ass coach, I'm hilarious. And no one can take that away from you unless you give it to them. That's what owning it is. Owning it is knowing, like, this is just who I am and not getting caught up in all of the noise because there's a lot of it out there.
There sounds synonymous, totally. What's your stress level?
Stress level, how? Like good stress or bad stress? Like stress, like
Stress. Like how has that evolved for you over the years? Like what? Because I don't know. As you were describing all that, I just think so many people just have their cortisol rise and can get stressed about things. And I'm wondering how you deal with that, and when it comes up, and what your practice is for stress, bad stress. I think I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of gets to you.
Well, as you know, I just shared with you something personal that just happened. If I just 15 minutes before we got to this call, I just shared with you. I got a call that this awesome lady that I just met. I just loved her. I was so looking forward to getting to know her even better. I got stressed out for them, and I cried.
Yeah.
And and the one thing I do that whenever I'm stressed, well, there's two things I do. One, if I'm inside, I get outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate something in nature. I have an opportunity to look out over the red rocks, and I go and I appreciate something in nature. That's a big thing for me. And then the other thing is, I don't know. I heard this. I think in maybe like one yoga class I took. I would love to say I take a lot of yoga classes, but I don't yet. But the one thing I really got from that yoga class is always return to the breath. And when I am feeling stressed about anything, I just take a big deep breath, and I just realize the power of that breath. And that's one of the biggest things that I do. And then I ask myself too another question, because I think questions are always the answers. And I'm like, wow, what a gift this is. How am I going to share this with somebody else? Like either something that I've gotten through, how is this going to, how is it going to help me remember who I am. I think I shared another thing that I do when it's people that stress me out. I think you were on the call. I
don't know.
Keisha liked it.
What is it?
Keisha was talking about someone who was stressing her out. Sorry, Keisha, then I used your name out there. But she was talking about someone who stressed her out, and it made her feel angst and the whole thing, which can put us in a whole spiral, if you would.
Absolutely.
And I said, you know what, Keisha? I just imagine everybody as a little baby in a diaper. And I just look at them and that they're having a temper tantrum. And it's true.
No, I did not hear this. This is great.
And it helps me just remember. Remember when your kids were little and they had a little temper tantrum?
Oh,
and
yeah.
issued it, right? So it helps me get out of stress and be more empathetic and just like send them love. Seriously. Like I don't get stressed about how they're reacting, because there's something I can't control it, right?
Right.
But I can control, my emotions and how I'm going to react or not react. And so for me, what works is seeing them in a little diaper, just having a little temperature tantrum, and I just send them love. So
yeah, it gives you compassion for them, right? Like that okay, we're all just going through these little emotional, cloud passing moments, right? And so, yeah, I like that. No, I had not heard that. So.
And then the other thing I do that's really just a ritual for me is I go crazy that all these new hotels have taken out bathtubs, because I take a bath every night with my ducks, with my 200 ducks. And so I love taking a bath. It helps get me centered. That's where I meditate. I know that people talk a lot about meditation. I love that you take us through a beautiful meditation before this. That's where I really get in this space of I just kind of all that stress, anything from stress from the day, any kind of anything that has caused me, I just I let it all go. And so that's
it's important. You live such a fast-paced lifestyle with a lot of travel and a lot of events and activities. And so it's good to have these things in your back pocket and practical things you can do. But you're a Scorpio too, aren't you?
I am a Scorpio. Did you see my new cool Scorpio necklace?
Oh, wow.
Cool. No, Arisa gave me that. I have no. I'm like the modern day Mr. T right here. I like the whole thing going on. Yep.
I like it. I have another friend who's a Scorpio, and I remember her telling me, I think it's a fire sign, and she was telling me that she had to cool her fire every day and had to take a bath every day. So I mean, if you're feeling fiery, it's a great thing to do. And
And this year I'm excited about too. I think I shared this yesterday, that it's the year of the snake. And I love that because it's time to just shed everything that's not working. So you can grow in. That's really about owning it too. Like we had this old skin and then it's time to like grow into the next dimension of ourselves.
And you're moving into a new decade, right? You're going to be in your
20s. In my 20s.
Exactly.
30, 20.
And so I guess looking back in the last 10 years at your 50-year-old self or 40-year-old self, like what would you tell those versions of you?
Wow. Can I tell you something? I can't believe, I'd say the best is yet, I mean, really seriously, the best is yet to come.
Oh, so much. That makes me so happy.
I am so happy. I am so excited about turning 60 that I've grown the most from, I would say, age 53 to 59. Massive growth. It's almost like a compounding of growth. And I think that it's like we talk about the whole, I'm true to myself in my 40s or whatever. And then like I don't know what happens when you turn 50. It's like, whatever. Like, you don't get me. Like, I know who I am. I think it's that like knowing this. And I say I was kind of there. But when I got to be like 50, I'd say 55 is when I was just like, really, whatever. Like, I know who I am. I know what I stand for. I know my intentions are good. I know my heart. You're not around, you're lost, right? I know not everybody's going to love me. But I know who I am. And I know the people that I want in my life. And like, I think this was my favorite year. Seriously.
That's so incredible because I think so many times we can get so impatient to be there, And would you even tell those versions of yourself, just relax, you're going to get there in the right time?
Yes. That's what I would tell them.
That's tough. That's a little tough because we keep doing the work, but I don't know. I'm an impatient person, right? And I want to check my boxes and check my lists and all that. But it's also so encouraging to hear. Like it's only going to get better.
It's like I don't even know how to explain it. Like as I share with you, I have a big thing that I do every year. I have goals that I have set, and my goal is to get them done by Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. And every year it's usually the end of September. So I have my everything. I always start with the end in mind. Like what are the things that and then like how do I backtrack? So I had finished Stay True in September 23rd or September 25th. I forgot the day in 2023. And then a lot happened in the world, and the world was I think kind of put me in kind of I took a little, put the brakes on for a minute. And I think I met you in November of that year.
Yeah.
And so I had to just stop for a second and not push so much and just kind of relax into what was happening in the world. I had to go back to what really matters most right now, but really, who are the people in my life for. It was really that was probably one of the toughest years just emotionally for me. Just because I couldn't believe what was happening in the world. So but it was perfect. I don't even know how else to say it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my God, like the reason why I didn't, and at first I was like, no, the book was supposed to be done by September 3rd, 2023. And then it was going to be out by the event in March, and I had this whole expectations, right? We always say, Tony Robbins always says, trade your expectations for appreciation. And I had to remind myself that because I had all these expectations of how it was supposed to look. And what I realized was I needed all of you because I wanted to share your stories. Like there were certain stories in the book, right? That one story didn't even happen until we had gotten back to something that had happened in Utah with one of the ladies. I'm like, oh my God, that's a great story to share in there. And I realized that I had to be patient. Here's my favorite two words: being patiently persistent. So that means I gotta be grateful for what I have and be patient, but I have to keep moving forward as well. Right. So I was like, to stop like having like how it has to look, but it's like, okay, I'm going to be grateful and I'm going to be patient and I'm going to keep moving forward versus letting it frustrate me.
I love that. I love that. And it's alliterative, which I know you like.
Yes, I love.
Yes. What do you see as some of the biggest obstacles for people to overcome if they're working on staying true and, owning all these things? What do you see?
The biggest obstacle for most people.
Or obstacles? Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest thing is comparison, right? Like a
Oh, yeah.
huge thing is comparison.
Mhm.
Like I think a lot of people can compare their chapter 1 or 2 to somebody else's chapter, you know, 30.
Yeah.
And right, like once again, I love to go back to Jim Rohn as an example. He always talks about first you got to find fertile soil, right? Then you got to, toil the soil. Then you got to like plant the seeds, and then you got to wait. You got to wait for
Yes.
that dang waiting, right? It was our favorite in most people. What is it? Oh, the places you will go, and that say everybody's just waiting for
The
the
waiting
phone
place.
to ring,
Mhm.
waiting for the train to come, waiting for the bus to come, just waiting. People are sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
But there's the planting season, there's the sowing season, and then there's a reaping season, and they don't all happen at once. And I think there's been this false narrative, especially over the past 5 years, that you can just do it all like, and it's all going to happen at once, and it doesn't happen that way. Um, and so, yeah, I think so I think that's why, again, you have to be patiently persistent, but that means be patient, but keep moving forward, keep making progress, right? We talk about that progress is the biggest thing. I know that when I was going through menopause and I was trying lots of different things and I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember my husband saying, I think I had started on, this would have been 2020 is when I started like really, I had a couple symptoms where I put on some weight during menopause
Mhm.
and it was a real identity thing for me. And I remember I went and there were like some new peptide thing that they had started. It was like $1,600 a month, right?
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, this isn't working. This isn't working. Right. And then I was like, okay, do another month. And my husband was like, just do it one more month, And then when I gave it one more month, like everything started shifting. My body started going, oh, this is what we're supposed to do. Oh, this is how we get things working right again. Oh, this is how it goes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I should, what? I don't want to be teaching the lesson I need to learn most. Does that make sense? Like I see a lot of people that are teaching what they need to be learning.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't remember what the question was that you asked me. So
Oh, I think we were just
okay.
talking about obstacles, but then patiently persistent, right? And that was a good
Yeah.
example of that.
Comparing is an issue. I think it's a big thing. I think that people get so attached to like either what has happened in the past, the past of how the things have happened, and they're not flexible enough to being able to make those changes. And I think Fiji taught me that. Like when I was in Fiji, we were there, I lived there for 3.5 years, 2.5, 3.5 years. And we were teaching these programs, 36-week-long programs a year. It was like Groundhog Day. Like a group would come in, we'd fall in love with them, and then they'd leave. And then a group would come in and they'd fall in love and they'd leave. I loved it. But while we were there, it was the worst, not hurricane, but whatever they call it over there in
Typhoon or something like that. Yeah.
it ever happened, ever.
Wow.
So the winds got up to 165 miles per hour.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it was crazy. And you notice though which trees lasted. The only trees that lasted were what? Were the coconut trees because they were so flexible, right? They could just go with the wind. So I learned so much from the coconut trees, those big rain trees that didn't have deep roots. And if you think about the diamond, what it really is looking at those areas, you should have built a house without having a strong foundation. So your facets are really the foundation for your life. You've got to like look at all of those different areas. Now, do I dance with those different things? Yeah. But I give it some attention every single day, right? So I go, okay, contribution wise, what do I do, right? You could do something. I think I did a little article in a magazine. You could like tip your waiter 100%, right? You could thank the person. And I went to Trader Joe's with Asher just a couple days ago because I was like, should I get flowers for the lunch? And I go, no, I think I'm just going to go get orchids and put them on the table and then give them out to people afterwards. Well, when we were walking in to Trader Joe's, we were in the parking lot. And of course, there were freaking shopping carts everywhere, and I go, Asher, you go get those. I'll go get these. We'll go. And then you take the ones back that go to Michael's. I'll take the ones that go back to Trader Joe's. So she takes the ones to Michael because they're right beside each other. She takes the one to Michael's. I take the ones to Trader Joe's. The girl looks at me. She goes, thank you. I'm like, yeah, of course. So I go in there and Asher and I are looking at flowers, like deciding whether or not to buy flowers to make arrangements or to buy orchids. And I see the girl who was in the parking lot and she sees us with the flowers and she whispers something to her manager. And she comes over to me as I'm picking out the orchids and she goes, here you go. And I'm like, what? She goes, I can't believe you guys actually picked up the carts. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't believe it? She goes, so I asked my manager if I could give you these, if I could give you these flowers. And I'm like,
my gosh.
I know, it just happened 2 days ago or 3 days ago. And I was like, man, like, that's not hard. That's contribution. I'm giving to my contribution part. But I'm like, I'm not doing it for any kind of recognition. I didn't expect her to give me any kind of flowers. But when people go, I don't have time to look at all the facets of my life. Yes, you do, right? Joss calls me every day, right? I call my mom every day. So that's same thing with my husband. We turn everything off. Well, I'm most of the time turn everything off. I'm kind of on my phone sometimes.
Yeah.
At 6 p.m., we're like, that's it. That's us time. It's like boundaries. I think setting boundaries are not bad things or beautiful things. You say, these are my priorities of different times in the day. And so, I've never watched it, so now we're watching Yellowstone, right? And so, but I spend quality time with him, making sure my physical health, even when I'm not working out, I'm going to do something good for myself, making sure I'm hydrate, making sure I jump on, move my lymphatic system, making sure that I, go over there and get it on my TRX bands for 5 minutes after we get off this call, right? Like,
Nice.
you don't have to make it so difficult, but when you do, you celebrate it. And I don't think that the other thing I would say about the mistake I think people make, they don't celebrate enough.
Mm-hmm.
I
I agree. And so much of that is just shifting your perspective and telling yourself a new story about it. Like, oh, I love taking care of my body. Okay, now suddenly it's going to be something you love and you value because I feel good to be with my family or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just write a new affirmation around it. It doesn't even have to be a whole story. It's just those little sentences that we can tell ourselves to push ourselves in that direction. So otherwise you're just going, oh God, it's hard. I don't have time. I mean, okay, then if you say it, it's true, right? But it's not true.
Absolutely.
The truth is what you make it. Absolutely.
I want to share something really cool that Joss did. And it's taught me, and I love it for anybody who travels, because you were talking about me traveling a lot.
Let's talk about travel.
And my dad was the best. My dad was the best. And his birthday, he would have been 95 on January the 13th. Coolest guy. I don't know. He was an optometrist for 52 years. He did raise us with super strong contribution values. But my dad, when I started working at Del Mar, I told you I was a winter circle girl at Del Mar. And my dad, sweet little, from North Carolina, he gave me $2 bills. And he said, you use those at the track and you do a $2 bet on a horse, So I did that. And I told my boys would hear the stories about this $2 bills that my dad gave me for the racing season. Anyway, Joss is just like my dad. He looks like my dad and just has a heart like my dad. Anyway, Joss said, hey, Mom, you know what I've been doing? He goes, I wanted to honor Papa Doty. And he goes, obviously, I'm not going to go bet on the horses. He goes, but what I decided to do was take out $200 of $2 bills. And whenever I'm out, like at a valet or when I need to give a tip, I don't give $1. I give a $2 bill. And he goes, and everybody remembers you. I'm like, I freaking love that. So before I ever go on a trip, I go get $200 of $2 bills. And whether I'm at the Centurion Lounge, and nobody leaves tips there. That drives me crazy, just so you know. So people that leave tips at the Centurion Lounges, and I leave a $2 bill and they look around and they smile. So that's a fun thing. Do the little things. Or we had Aaron at one of the lunches, and Aaron, as you know, is a flight attendant. And I said, what can we do as travelers to, to let the flight attendants know how much we appreciate them? And she said, you know what? Chocolate. She goes, if you just gave the flight attendants like a couple pieces of chocolate, she goes, because we have to deal with a lot of different things. I mean, I think that we know this, right, Amy? The little things are the big things. And I think if we can get back to understanding that the little things are the big things, you won't be stressed so much. You really won't if you just remember those things. So
that's so impressive because I think you're like one of the busiest people I know. You have more going on than like a lot of people. And so the fact that you can take time to tap into those little things, and it's that what that is human connection. What that is connecting to ourselves. And at the end of the day, that's really what matters. That's where the legacy lies, not in how much is in your bank account, right?
I love that, where the legacy lies. You know, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny. I haven't finished my one facet, but I'll show you right here. There were these two kids from the lunch, for the birthday parties. And this one little girl, do you see her? She's wearing the birthday hat. And then this one little boy, he picked out a football because we give them a gift. And we both like the same football team. And so I said, I know one day I'm going to be watching you on TV playing for that team. He goes, oh, you are. You're going to watch me. And so he waits for me when he knows the birthday parties are happening every other month. So this is his second year being at the school. He goes, did you watch that game? Right? Like, did you see it? And so once again, it's the little things, right?
You know what it is? How many times do you remember something so small that someone said to you and they go, I can't believe, or they either don't remember it or they go, I can't believe you remember that. And it's just this littlest thing that can make such a difference to you. You might have changed his entire life by saying that to him. He might just someday be playing for the NFL and be like, oh, I remember this woman. Her name was Loren or something, and he'll be like, as she said, she was going to be watching me one day. And I knew right then, or something.
There's somebody to believe in you. Like, even if you plant, once again, it's the Jim Rome. It's planting the seed.
Yeah, it is.
It's planting the seed.
They're so small. They're so small.
And you don't know which seed is going to, I don't know. I'm not a farmer, but I hear farmers, they take a bunch of seeds, right? And they don't know, they don't take like a few seeds. They take a big glop of seeds and they throw it out there and they see which one is gonna stick. And I think that's the other thing too, is like, people you don't know what's gonna be the thing.
No, you don't. Just keep planting seeds. It doesn't matter.
Just keep planting seeds.
Living in alignment, and they're going to grow. And it's also not worrying about which seeds are going to grow, right? Like, where's my seed growing? Oh my God. It's more like I am continuing to plant. It's all good and it's going well.
There you go.
Can you tell me just a little bit about those birthday parties too? If somebody wanted to start those in their town, like how would they go about that? And say what it is, because I think I've been thinking about it for the last year since I met you, and I'm interested in what you do.
I love that. And so that's really a big, so what happened was, how many years ago did I move here to Las Vegas? I think I moved here 18 years ago or 19 years ago. And there was a school called Stovall. And it was I started to learn from my friend Joelle. She had, after Katrina happened, a lot of the people from New Orleans came out to Las Vegas to get jobs, and they helped get people, help them with their job application. I think Harrah's was a really big, casino at the time here. And then they did these backpacks for kids where they sent kids home with food for the weekend. And that's where I learned about something called Title I schools, and then there's Title I Hope. And I was like, what does that mean? When you go, I don't know about Texas, but I know here in Nevada, because my daughter's in public school, is that when you go fill out an application for your school, you have to write, do you live in a house? Do you live in an apartment? Do you live in a car? Do you live in transitional housing? It literally says, do you live in a car? Are you homeless? So they know how many people live wherever they live. So Title I are kids that live below the poverty level. And then there's Title I Hope. Title I Hope are kids that live below the poverty level and are homeless. So either live in a car, live in transitional housing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? And learned how many kids, a lot of kids go to school just, for free lunches because they're hungry.
Yeah.
So my friend Joelle, she would put together we would do these backpacks on the weekend so that the kids like serving like individual pack things. Like I said, this was 18 years ago.
So they still do that. I just went to something and we assembled backpacks as like a community experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
It still happens.
So what happened was I went to this school. I know it's a long story, but I want to share because I want people to understand that the little things are the big things.
Yeah.
So that's how I met Tony. I showed up at his very first basket brigade, but it was doing more baskets for families. And that was November 1989. But I started like looking like where was my heart pulling me for different things. So anyway, I went to this Stovall school and it was a Title I school. And I don't know why I decided I wanted to do a birthday party for them. So I would go to all the hotels. Remember, this is 2007, 2008. So the hotels were like, woohoo, like everything was like big back then, right? So the hotels would give me like pallets of those individual shampoos and lotions. And so we'd line up. I've advanced since then, but we would do a birthday party for the kids. And we would line up the shampoos and all those things, and then they'd get a toy. And I'll never forget this as long as I remember, as long as I live. This little girl comes up to me and I said, go grab some, grab the shampoo and this and the toothbrush. And she goes, for me? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, just for me. Like, I don't have to share with anybody. I'm like, yeah, no, this is just for you. She goes, I get to keep this hairbrush just for me. I get to keep this comb for me. I get to keep the toothbrush just for me. I don't have to share it with anybody. And I was like, oh my gosh, So I did it for about a year. And honestly, I'll be real honest. I stopped doing it. I didn't have people weren't showing up to help me. And I mean, as much as I'd love to say I just kept going, I didn't.
Okay.
So I started doing the backpacks at Thanksgiving of like for those people that home moms. Unfortunately, I think the statistic is still the same. Unfortunately, years later, that single moms who have children under the age of 3 have to choose between diapers or food. A single mom.
Damn.
And so I would go and I would do the backpacks for them. Well, 2 years ago, my friend, they were doing backpacks for school season, and it was right at the end of COVID. Supplies were still very limited for school supplies because kids were just going back to school. And so, like, I'm running around in July. Melissa, she's like, Loren, I need you to go pick all this stuff. I'm like sweating, trying to run the freaking Walmart, whatever, superstore. They didn't have anything, and everything was whatever. So we decided to put together these 500 school supply backpacks. And we had this one school that we were going to go to. And then we were going to paint faces and we were going to do all these things. Well, 2 days before the event, the principal of the school goes, this is just too much. I can't deal with it. Just forget it. So we're like, what? Like, what? Like what? And so somebody called another school. And they called the other school, and this principal, Megan, goes, yeah, we'll do it. And so we all show up to face paint, to work with the firefighters, to do the backpacks. So I look at Megan as this principal, and I'm like, can I ask you a question? I go, how many kids here are Title I? She goes, all the kids here are Title I, Loren. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
She goes, the whole school is Title I, 700 kids. And I go, what do you think? I go, what do you think about if I offer to do birthday parties for the kids? And she goes, well, a lot of these kids don't even know when their birthday is. She goes, I go, how many of these kids do you think have had a birthday party? She goes, none have had a birthday party. I doubt it. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. And so anyway, we started doing it.
She really said none? Like none?
None. And we've learned a lot from Megan. She just shared again yesterday that we did the party. What we learned was, like when you would take cupcakes to school, like for your kid's birthday, she said what's happened over the past 2 years is the stress that it's taken off the parents, because now they don't have to go, oh my gosh, cupcakes for a class for my kid. I can get groceries for our family, or I can help pay the rent. I mean, it's expensive now for there's 30 kids in a classroom. That's $50 nowadays.
Yeah.
For that many. So we've seen like just, this beautiful domino effect of how it's been able to help these parents so much. So we get together and the goal is to launch them starting in March, and to do that, we're working on putting together a couple things to see if we can get. So each kid gets a present.
Each kid in the whole school for a certain month?
So what we do, it's about 175 kids every 2 months. At first I was doing it every month, but it was a lot to get people together just to do it. So they do pizza, cupcakes, we do little party favors for them, and then they each get to pick a present. Here's what was fascinating to learn. We don't wrap them, because here's the thing we learned about wrapping. Wrapping makes it feel like it's a Christmas present and it's not personal. We started bringing gift bags. Same thing that happened with the little shampoos. Exact same thing. They're like, this bag, it says it's my birthday. Like, I get to keep this bag. They got more excited about the gift bags than they did even the gifts. It's the number one thing. Like, they're like, get me the big bag. Get me the big bag that, and they're like all different ones. They're not like the same bag.
So they pick the bag and then they pick their gift?
And then
Do you get the gifts donated? Or
we just donate. Yeah, a bunch of us just bring them. We just get them donated, and I'm hoping to get a couple, like I said, sports. Maybe I can get some sports to get some basketballs and footballs, like I said, because that's the ones that mean the most. We found out ones that they don't pick up. Like, we were waiting yesterday. There was a kid, somebody had bought one of those gem sets, the gem, like where you make your own gems. And we were waiting for somebody to get it. And we're like, man, think about who that kid, like what that kid might become, or the one that picked up the one about the human body, right? There was only one. That kid might go on and be a doctor. How cool would it be?
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, and then the other thing that we do is we sit down with them and take just a Polaroid picture of them wearing a birthday hat. And then they get to take that home as well. So so the goal is to be able to do it everywhere. So we need you to do them in Austin. I'll give you the format that we have. I'll share with you everything that we do. But these kids, so what the principal said, she goes, I can't tell you how big this has been. She goes, we do like other activities. She goes, but this is like their day. Like, and they all know that they're going to get it. Every single kid knows they're going to be able to have a birthday party. And like, we put on music and, they sing to each other, and it's just awesome. And it's 2 hours out of your day every 2 months. Seriously?
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. And so
It's incredible. I love that you do that. I've been thinking about it a lot. Like, it sounds just so easy and makes such a difference. So that's really beautiful, Loren. I hope that just flourishes and, catches on, because it's really, really amazing. So yeah, really beautiful. And it's those little things. It doesn't take that much time, and we blow it up in our heads to be more than it has to be. Right?
Exactly. And I just want to thank all the people that have been behind it, because Sunshine, Juliana, Janelle, like there's a group of people that have been just so committed. And like I said, like yesterday, we had twice as many, my friend Rocky and her husband, Greg, and just so many people that now they just are like, yeah, this is fun. Now it's getting getting some momentum, and
that's really cool. Well, share that with me. And then if anybody's listening and wants to know more, please reach out, because we can figure something out for sure. So, okay. Well, as we're wrapping up, what have we missed today that we needed to talk about? If we're talking about your book, Stay True and Own It, and your event and these facets of our life, is there anything that we missed or anything on your heart that you really want to express before we go today?
I think the biggest thing that I really want to just share that's on my heart is, we need to stay awake. Well, I think too many, we fall asleep at the wheel of life, right? Like something happens, and then let's big prayers out to, over to California right now. As you know, I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. I went there 2 weeks before who would have ever thought the hurricane would have hit Asheville. I'm just texting my friends now. It's January. People are still living in tents.
Wow.
The river arts district, so much history has disappeared. I think that what I would say to everybody, check in on somebody. Check on, send somebody in Western North Carolina a message. Send somebody, my best friend from Augusta, Georgia. Her mom had been in their house for 50 years, and I didn't know Augusta got hit by the hurricane, and they just condemned her mom's house, who she had been in the house for 60 years, but is hit by trees. I mean, like Mother Nature, she's in charge, but I think that we have to really check on each other and not think that because something didn't happen in our own backyard that it didn't happen or it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You never, and so I'd say stay awake. Stay awake. What can you do today? Could you send somebody a card, a total stranger? Could you buy something from Western North Carolina to support a small business? Or could you, do something to help out? That's my real call to action for people.
I love that. And as I was doing my own facets, it's easy to be broad, like, oh, I'm going to be a good friend this year, or whatever it is. And I thought, you know what? That has to have an actionable step. That has to have a concrete thing that I can measure and actually do either every day or every week. And so I was like, oh, you know what? It takes no time to reach out to someone every single day. No time. Like literally a minute, and you're already looking at your phone. Let's be real.
Absolutely.
So, or to contribute in some way. Like when someone reaches out and says, we have a GoFundMe for this family, it literally takes like I try to do it in the moment.
Yeah.
I've trained myself to do that because I'm like, you know what? What is $10 to help them? Even by anything, right? Anything helps. And so just taking action in those ways and making them actionable for all those facets, like that was something I was really trying to tune into. Like you just said about your own wellness, like what's a little step that I can do that's an actual item.
When they say if I could be 1% better today, then you're 365% better by the end of the year. Like you said, I love that you mentioned the phone because I love the phone to set alarms, right? So I set at 12:30, it says call a friend, right? Or it's at 10:55, an alarm goes off and it says, I do a minute of squats. So I love, like, if you can schedule those things. And it's funny because I remember once everybody knew my alarm went off for to take a big deep breath, and I was in the middle of an event and everybody's like, okay, let's do it. Or I was with Joss and Z in Tenerife. And we were out, the event had ended. My alarm goes off, and I was doing like I think it was like 20 push-ups. And so they look at me and I'm like, here? And they're like, yep, you just mentioned in the room, you do your push-ups. So I will never forget it. In the middle of Tenerife, outside, all the participants were walking by and I'm outside doing those push-ups. But I do it for me, right? Because I have to look myself in the mirror and say, did I do it? Am I really walking my talk? And I just want to say how proud I am of you. I mean, and Justin and all the work that you do. You were so awe and inspiring. I loved your event so much. And that was the best damn burger I have ever had in my entire
Thank you.
life. I think about it all the time.
Not a damn chance burger. Big shout out to them for sponsoring our Fight for the Forgotten event in the fall. Like, yeah, their burgers are so good. So good.
But your event was magnificent.
Thank you.
And I just
you for
loved
being-
it. And I'm really looking forward to all that you've got going there as well. And I think I'm going to have to tell you a little secret. So I invited some. I think you're going to have to be the other person to go with me. I'm planning magic moments for my 60th year. And so I've got all these like magic moment things that I put on my, in my planner right here. And I think that you need to be the person to go with me and this one other person to go. And what do you think? I'm on the waiting list right now to see if I can rent Dolly's bus and you can stay on her bus.
Oh my God, I have chills all over my body. Chills all over my body. Yes, the answer is yes. Chills.
And then all the money goes to her literacy foundation.
Oh my
So like that, how amazing is that?
God. She's such a queen.
She's a badass. Yeah,
Of
she's
course.
a queen.
Of course. Oh, you know what? There was one thing I wanted to touch on before we go. You are a huge proponent of not a vision board, but a manifestation board. I love this. I think that people can set up a vision board for 1 year and be like, that didn't come true. But patiently persistent. You were talking about you pointing at yourself saying, own it. That was on your manifestation board from years ago. And now here you are this year seeing that come to fruition. And you keep all your manifestation boards up on the wall. So
Yes.
I wanted to just say, like, those fit together really well. And for people to understand that we're not on a timeline with a manifestation.
Exactly. I'm looking at all of them right now, and like we said, like I randomly had put 20 years of boards up on this wall, and then the other one is it's a little obnoxious, but I love it.
I like it.
About 20 years, and I just randomly put them up, right?
Yeah.
And so then I look over to the left, and
Oh,
I'm
so
like,
you don't have them in chronological order?
no. So here's what's crazy. So I just randomly put all of these up here, and I put so that one, just so you know, I'll tell you when the own it one was for. So what's crazy, as you know, we're starting the dog sanctuary. So I look over at my board, I'm like, no freaking way. The one I see like that I'm looking at right now says in my financial corner, of my bagua, it says rescue the dogs. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? It's not on the one that's over there, right? It's the one that's right here. The one that's right here, the one with the own it. Remember how I told you? Yes, Dolly is right beside it, just so you know, because she's in my helpful people. Hello, Dolly. And then right here, it says own it. And it is literally, are you ready for this? I'm going to tell you when the year is from. 2000, 2012.
Wow. Wow.
It's so right? Like you said, like you just have to just keep moving forward and just keep it. I don't even know. I'm in awe. Like I sit here and I'm like, I'm just wow is all I can say.
I love that. And you have some really great manifestation events that people can tune into. Also, if they go to your website, they can find all those, right? I'll put that in the show notes. Yes.
Thank you.
I would
And I
highly
think manifestation, I think the one thing I'd say about manifestation, why I call it manifestation boards versus vision boards. Because vision, we all need vision, right? The good book says without vision, people perish. I always tell the story about Asher, she was cranky when she was little. And I'm like, oh my God, girls are just cranky. And then I got a message from the school saying, take your daughter immediately to the optometrist. And the reason she was cranky was she couldn't see. So your vision is important, right? Like,
Right.
see, most people can't see. So vision is important. But I say vision plus Goya, you got to get off your ass, right? You can intend and attend all you want, but you got to get off your ass. So you got to have that vision, but then you got to take the action so that you can manifest everything that you desire in your life. So I love you. I adore you.
Me too. I love you too.
So much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And everything will be in the show notes, how everyone can find you. Loren, you're such a queen. You inspire me all the time. And you have been the catalyst in my life for so many things. So thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who turned up today. Check the show notes for everything that we talked about and all Loren's links, and to possibly come virtually to the Own It event March 7th through 9th. It will be live in Vegas, but you can stream it from your home and see all the amazing speakers. So thank you to Loren, and thank you to you for being here. Keep shining bright. I love you so much. Till next time.
Thank you so much for being here. Please rate, review, and follow us. And we'd love to hear your feedback. Keep shining bright.